Well, hello there, BBG family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Brown Girl Boss. Y'all get on in here. I am so excited about tonight's show. So, as y'all are coming in, make sure that you go ahead and introduce yourself in the comments, that you let us know where you are watching from, and go ahead and tag some of your friends so that they can come and hang out with us tonight as well. We've got a really exciting show, so definitely want to make sure that you have something to take notes with and get everybody in here that needs to be in here for our conversation tonight. So I see y'all getting in here. Yes, yes, I see the likes and the hearts and all the things. Hi. So definitely get in here, you all. Tag your friends. Let us know where you are watching from. And if this is your very first time hanging out with us on BBG TV Brown Girl Boss, want to know that as well. Love to celebrate our first timers and invite new brown girls into our community. So let me know that in the comments as well. And also, while you're doing that, I have a question that I want you to think about because we're talking about food tonight. So I'm going to put the question up on the screen so that you all can start answering that, and it'll kind of help to drive our conversation. So let me go ahead and show that and come back over to our comments. I see that Jennifer is in here from Wade, North Carolina. AJ is here from North Carolina. Hey, Jackie. V is here from Cali. Toya from STL. I can't even talk today, y'all. STL, St. Louis. Who else do we have? Kamani is here. Christina's here from Miami. Yay! Hey, y'all. So glad to be back. This is literally always the highlight of my week when I get to hang out with my BBG family. So super excited that you all are here. Hey, Cindy from Atlanta. So I have our question up. Okay. So after you introduce yourself in the comments, after you've let us know where you're watching from, after you've tagged some of your friends, and let me know if this is your first time hanging out with us, I want you to go ahead and answer the question that I have on the screen. And that is, what's your relationship with food? That's what we're talking about tonight. Okay. So I want to know, do you live to eat? Like, are you foodie status? Like everything is all about food. Do you eat to live? Or are you kind of like, meh, doesn't really matter? Okay, so answer that in the comments for us so that we are able to check that out as well. So, hey, Jan from Harlem. Hey, okay, thanks, girl, you looking out. Okay, Ranelia. Thanks, Boo. Welcome back. So glad to see you. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, y'all are coming in here. Okay, all right. So y'all keep on answering the question for me, and let me go ahead and do my official welcome because some people may not know what they're watching, so I want to make sure that you know. So good evening. Welcome to BBG TV Brown Girl Boss. This is our virtual platform that allows us to connect with other like-minded women who are on a mission to live their very best lives. We come to you weekly with programming that will challenge and inspire you and get the conversation going to connect with other beautiful brown girls. My name is Kimberland, and I come to you from Pennsylvania. On tonight's show, we're going to be chatting with wellness and holistic coach, brown girl boss, and Nzingah Oniwosan. During the month of April at Beautiful Brown Girls, we're focused on finding balance on the road to wellness. And we really want to make sure that we start that discussion by focusing on the food that we put into our bodies. So I know I say this all the time, y'all, but I promise that you want to pay close attention. When Nzingah and I were preparing for the show, like it was so many things like flying out left and right, and I don't want us to miss anything. Okay, so I really need y'all to make sure that you get something to take notes with, that you're really paying attention and capturing all this stuff because sis is deep. Like, let me tell you, she's got the nuggets, and we need to get them all. Okay, so again, before we get started, I want to make sure that you have introduced yourself in the comments. You've let us know where you are watching from, that you've tagged your friends in the comments. You've also let me know if this is your first time hanging out with us, and you've answered our question that I have up here. What's your relationship with food? Do you live to eat? Do you eat to live? Or meh, doesn't really matter. Okay, so let me check and see if anybody else has joined us since we got in here. If I need to do some more shout outs, I see Teresa is here from Georgia. Let's see. We have Sandra from ATL. Andrea said hangry is real. So definitely one. Girl, I understand. Okay. So you all keep answering that question in the comments as you all are getting in here. And I am going to tell you about our guest. So Nzingah is a Haitian American holistic health consultant, plant-based chef, 500 hours celebrity yoga teacher, award winning blogger, and motivational speaker who helps people as an inspirational teacher. She started Yes Baby, I Like It Raw to teach and inspire people to embark on a holistic lifestyle. This project is close to her heart because of her own journey. Through a radical lifestyle change, she was able to heal herself of the symptoms brought on by having a benign brain tumor, autoimmune disorder called scleroderma, and polycystic ovary syndrome. She's been featured in Essence Magazine, Mantra Magazine, NBC, CBS, NPR, Heart and Soul Magazine, Veg News, Huffington Post, and Art and Culture Magazine. Sis, she all over the place. Her most recent project is 365 Zing, a wellness self-care app created to help Black women get on track with their health goals so they become the best balanced version of themselves. Yo, this is the truth. Okay. So I need y'all to make sure we are going to have time for questions. So start thinking of your questions and everything, y'all, because we've got to tap her while she is here. All right. So let me get her in here, y'all. She is looking gorgeous too. I also heard she be modeling, child. She okay. Y'all about to see. Here she is. Hey there, beautiful.
Hey.
How are you doing this evening?
I am doing really good. I'm doing awesome. Had a really good morning for self-care. So I'm in a good place right now.
You glowing, sis. Yeah, I mean the melanin is popping. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, honey, I am here for it. So y'all keep answering the question. I'm gonna take it down. But and Zinga, talk to us about this story. I just read all of this stuff about how you even got to the point of founding Yes Baby I Like It Raw. Give us some background information, sis, because that was a lot that I just read through it. A tumor, autoimmune disease, like sis. Talk to us.
Yeah, sometimes people see the I don't like to use the word glow up, but they see you on the other side of through. There's this gospel song that I love that's called On This Other Side of Through. And definitely, Yes Baby I Like It Raw was on the other side of through. I was confronted with life-changing circumstances at a really young age. At 12 years old, I was starting to present symptoms. I was suffering from childhood obesity. I was pre-hypertensive. When I say childhood obesity, my mom could not order clothes for me. Like, she couldn't take me to the store to order clothes. She essentially had to order stuff from the JCPenney magazine because they had size 18, 19, 20, and 21 in children. A lot of my church clothes were being sewn. And at the time, I was dealing with a lot of chronic upper respiratory infections that sometimes led to bronchitis. Right before I went into middle school, my menstrual cycle came on, and then it didn't. It showed for 1 month, didn't show for the next month. And my mom was a bit concerned. And I like to share this part of the story because sometimes we think because someone has more education than us that they know more than we. So my mom took me to my pediatrician, and my pediatrician was like, "Oh, it's fine. She's young. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay." And my mom was just like, "No, something's not right." When my menstrual cycle came on, it came. It wasn't erratic. It wasn't doing these flips and turns. Because there was a point where it was 6 months and I didn't have a menstrual cycle. So due to her persistence, they started to do some tests. And when they did the test, they're like, "Oh, wait, there might be something here." And that's when they discovered that I had a brain tumor. Specifically, I have what's called a prolactinoma. It's a pituitary tumor that really impacted my hormones, which is why my period would go. It made my body think I was pregnant. So I even had breast milk and all these other things that
wow, at like 12?
Yes.
Wow.
And because I was being tested for like to see where my hormones were at. That's how I was also diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome. And then I started to present some other conditions. I started to have some other issues. My skin started to change color. I had what's called hyperpigmentation. But really what it looked like was I was becoming a burn victim without having a burn incident. So I was getting these areas of my body, and I can show, I don't know if this, this darkness here started to show up on my hip, my back, my thigh. I even have one here. It's just in a nice little sweet spot. And so that was a longer journey for diagnosis, because I was sent to a dermatologist. They thought it was me being allergic to something. My grandma just thought I was toxic, so had me do my first cleanse. And after a long journey, I then got diagnosed with what's called scleroderma, which is an autoimmune disorder where your body attacks your connective tissue. So that happened within 2 to 3 years. I got diagnosed with 1, 2, 3 things, and it was hard. I won't say that it was easy. I was told I'd have to be on medication for the rest of my life because of where my tumor was. It made sense to leave it alone, which is why they said I needed to be on medication for the rest of my life, because the risk of the surgery were higher than the symptoms of the tumor. So there was a risk for stroke, blindness, all this other stuff. With my autoimmune disorder, they wanted to study me because I presented atypically. So they sent me to UM, and I declined because I had some really bad outcomes when the doctor was trying to figure things out, where I have a permanent scar. And so fast forward.
I'm like, girl, this is a lot. Jesus, by the time you were like 15.
It was definitely a lot. Like, I'm not even going to sit here and act like it was easy. I can say it with a smile on my face, but definitely was not smiling. When you're that young and you're confronted with diseases like that, you realize that while you're trying to plan the life you're going to live, like my peers, I was just like, I just want to live, like the possibility of death was very tangible for me, because the doctors were like, well, if you don't take the medication, you're going to die early, and you're going to have all these complications before you die. And it was just like, there has to be a different way, right? And they were just like, no, just take all these medications. So fast forward sophomore year in college, I was just like, you know what? There has to be a different way. And so I did some research. I used my background, my religious background, to frame my research. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. And so there was always a health message there. So there were some things that I knew. And I felt like if I did a radical lifestyle overhaul, that I would see changes. And so that's what I did. It looked like me going vegan. It looked like me starting to do regular detoxes and cleanse. It looked like me starting yoga. It looked like me going to therapy. It looked like me moving out my parents' house.
That part.
Because they were triggers that came up in counseling. Like, okay, girl, you need to move out of this situation because it's toxic.
We're going to come back to that in a second, but go ahead.
And so with some slips and slides along the way, here I am 20 years later. I can have a menstrual cycle without medication. They told me I couldn't. I've kept my autoimmune disorder in remission. I am doing things that they said I would never be able to do without prescription drugs. And I feel like I'm thriving. And I really owe that to the changes that I made 20 years ago, and I'm in better shape than I was when I was 12 years old. I listed hypertension, obesity, like all the things I was so uncomfortable. I just remember just being sick all the time.
Wow. I am like, and we kind of, you said that you were going to share your story, and we didn't get into it. So I'm literally sitting here like, my goodness, to be a middle school, early high school age child, dealing with all of this and trying to figure out, what was happening with you as a teenager. My gosh, that is a lot. So you mentioned trauma, or triggers, you mentioned a bit ago. And I really want to kind of dig into that because I know disease is dis-ease, right? It's something that kind of shows up in our body because things may be triggered. So I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about that, if you discovered anything that may have lent to all of these conditions that you were diagnosed with.
Sure. So I'll start forward and then go a little bit back. It's still back. So when I started my journey, I started to seek out health practitioners who were holistic. One of those people that I went to see was a Chinese medicine doctor. And when I told him that I had scleroderma, his response was, "Oh, that's a disease of fear." And I was just like, 20s, in your 20s, hi to the people who are in your 20s, you have such arrogance, right? Like, you think you know everything. What you talking about? Like,
You're out here being an adult.
Yeah, you an adult. You know how you're gonna take over the world. You got a plan. You're gonna make the plan happen. So I was there with my 20-year-old arrogance. I graduated high school with a full scholarship to college. You couldn't tell me anything. Fear, what you talking about?
What I got to be afraid of?
Yeah. And I had to take a moment and sit with what he said. And when I reflected on what I was dealing with at the time when I was being diagnosed, I was living in perpetual fear. And sometimes I don't share the trauma because it may be triggering, so trigger alert. I definitely feel like the things that I was being presented with health-wise was the result of the trauma that I was dealing with. So back in 1991, 92, dating myself, my mother, I discovered that my mother had a mental illness. I'm Haitian, first gen. So my family would always be like, yeah, your mom gets sick sometimes, Maman kon malade. We say it in Creole, maman kon malade. But sick sometimes could mean anything, right? And that year, there was some domestic violence, and she woke up the next day and was a completely different person to us. And then I realized, like, oh no, like my mom is got mental illness, and normally I say she's crazy. I can say that. And so that was the year that I lost my mother. After she advocated for me in regards to getting tested so I could be diagnosed, her mental health took a tremendous downslope, and she was no longer able to be present. She's bipolar schizophrenic. And so there would be large bouts of depression where I became parentified, and that essentially means we reversed roles, where I had to make sure she was okay.
Yeah.
And then when she was having a manic schizo episode, she would become very violent. And that looked like her beating the crap out of me. Where I remember there was a period of time that I would go to school and couldn't speak because I got beat so bad before I came to school. It was just a cry. I cried that so much. And then there was individuals who took advantage of that situation, and because they saw that my mom wasn't mentally present, then I had someone who started to molest me at that same time. So when I say that was a really rough period of my life, it was definitely what felt like me hell on earth. And if I'm honest, I really felt like God had abandoned me. I felt like I didn't warrant what I was experiencing, and the way that God had been presented to me through church wasn't how God was showing up for me. And I didn't have anyone I could speak to with respect to what was going on with me, with the physical, mental, emotional abuse that was happening within the context of my home from several individuals. And so I was internalizing it. But what we don't understand is the body keeps score. You think by not saying anything and keeping stuff bottled in, that it has no implication. You know, in my case, I thought I was protecting my mom because my abuser said if I told that my mom would have a breakdown, it would be my fault. So that kept me silent for a very long time. And so what that created was a space for disease to take root and flourish. And that's what happened to me. And so that's why in my healing journey, and a lot of our healing journeys, if we think about trauma, childhood trauma, you know, the research is finally there. If you experience long-term childhood trauma, you're more likely to have certain autoimmune disorders. You're more likely to have hypertension. You're more likely to have anxiety and panic attacks and mental disorders. And so that's why we see a lot of what we see in our communities, but the connection hasn't been there. And I'm not even talking about the trauma we inherited. When I say trauma that we've inherited, I'm talking about the trauma that my mom experienced, the trauma that my grandmother experienced, the trauma that our ancestors experienced being kidnapped and brought to this country, and how that has changed our DNA and has had not just a negative impact on our physical health, but it's also why we see some of this dysfunction we see in our families, and the reason why we see a lot of the unaddressed elephant in the room, mental illness that we have in our community. So I'm gonna stop there. I can.
Yeah, I'm like over here with chills, and just thank you so much for your transparency and your vulnerability in sharing your journey, and giving us a window into what that was like, because what I know, as you just mentioned, is so many of us carry trauma with us, right? And even if we didn't have an abusive family situation, for instance, just the trauma of walking around in a Black or brown body is so much. And I think a lot of times we medicate, I know a lot of times we medicate that trauma with our practices with food. And I know you and I were talking a little bit when we touched base for the show about eating disorders, and how that's something else that we don't talk about in our communities, of our relationship with food. You know, we just kind of don't talk about it. I was going to say we keep it moving, but we kind of just don't talk about it. So in your research and in your healing journey, what did you discover there about that linkage between food and everything else, all the traumas that you were experiencing?
Sure. So, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in our community that we're very silent about. We think that they're white issues, and eating disorders are one of those things that we don't think takes place in our community. And so a lot of us have some, you know, I'm not going to say a lot of us, there are some of us who have some degree of eating disorders, you know, and the reality is, as Black girls who later on become Black women, we're very aware of how our bodies are constantly spoken on, not just by the outside world, but even within the context of our families. So like, for instance, I'll use myself as an example. Because I suffer from childhood obesity, you know, I have a journal. I was looking at it the other day, and I was just in my journal, I was like, I need to lose 20 pounds. Why am I focused on losing 20 pounds at 13 years old?
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And like I remember like trying to control my counting calories and trying to work out, and you know, then having these moments where I would binge, and then I would go back to the calorie restriction. And even some of us now use these holistic wellness eating habits, and they can actually be done in such a way that we can still even call those some form of eating disorders. You know, like if you're detoxing all the time, you're trying to control your weight, but you're using this narrative, or you told yourself that it can't be an eating disorder because this is a practice that is ancient and we've been doing it for a long time. But from a holistic practice, I'm certified as a holistic health practitioner. Our eating habits can be related to our emotions, right? And so sometimes our cravings are indicators of things that are going on, not just from a nutritional need. You know, if you eat a lot of ice, holistically, we know that means you might be anemic. You know, if you crave a lot of chocolate, you may need some magnesium. In the case of the holistic perspective of viewing cravings, sugar, that craving can be an indicator that you're not giving enough love or getting enough love, or you're giving out too much love, which is the same thing,
really?
Right? So I'm going to kind of go down the list. So the craving for sugar from a holistic perspective can be an indicator that you're giving out too much love or not receiving enough love, which is the same thing, right? Is what you're putting out in the world equivalent to what you need for yourself? That whole cup filling kind of idea.
Right.
And the challenge is, I like to use myself as an example. Sugar is one of my number one cravings, and that's because I have a large mother gap. My mother can't show up for me in the way that I need. And so although I might have a healthy romantic relationship, I might have healthy friendships, I'm doing my self-care to accommodate for the work that I do as a holistic practitioner, there's no one who can fill in that familial gap. And a lot of us have these strong cravings for sugar because we're trying to make up for the love that our parents are incapable of giving us.
Wow. Can we just pause right there for a moment now? That really resonates with me, and that's one of the things we kind of had that mother story in common when we were talking. I would have never made that connection, and it's so interesting. When I moved here, I told you I had just moved to Pennsylvania, and it's just me, right? So my friend unit and all of that, my family of choice that I had when I was in Florida is not here, right? So it's literally just me. And I remember saying to myself, why am I like wanting all of these sweet things? Like, I am usually not a candy person, desserts, like any of that at all. So wasn't really making the connection, and would have never made the connection had it not been for this, that there's a love piece that's missing there. And I can absolutely relate to that mothering piece, which is just absent. So wow, is what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and so in some ways we need to mother ourselves. We need to have people around us who are older, those elders that can give us the support. But again, that craving may never go away, right? Because at the end of the day, I know I want a mother, and my mother can't show up for me the way I need her to. No matter, and I can say I'm really lucky. I had a lot of women who helped to raise me, who supported me. But at the end of the day, it's still not the same when I know that there's this person who was my first connection with the world that I can't connect with. But there's other cravings too, right? So I'm going to go down to other cravings.
Okay. So, sorry, I was interrupting. Go.
No, you're fine. Crunchy is indicative of your stress levels. So think chips, think those roasted nuts. And so, what are you stressed out about that makes you want to have crunchy food? Another food that can show up is creamy. And a lot of times when I say creamy, I say think ice cream, think yogurt, think of pudding. And creamy is indicative of your need to be nurtured. And so what ways do you need to be nurtured? And I'm not telling you not to satiate the craving. Let me preface with this. I'm saying that when the craving shows up, make a healthier option. Don't let that craving drive you to make a bad decision, right? And then take note of what cravings are showing up on a very consistent basis, and step back, do some journaling, doing some reflection, maybe talk to your therapist to unpack if there's something actually there. Because it might just be, I just like chips, or it might be, I'm stressed the hell out, you know?
Right.
Another craving that might show up is chewy. And that's another way that we're trying to release tension. So you might still be stressed. So like think chewing gum, jerky. There's some foods that are pretty chewy, like tripe. And so, you know, look at ways that you can manage your stress on the crunchy and chewy side, you know. And if the stressor is something that you can control, because I know there's a lot of stressors that we cannot control, they're very external, then have those tools that you can use to manage it, like meditation, breathing exercises, working out, yoga, having a friend you can check in with, but making sure we're not spilling on our friends to a place that it becomes toxic for them. Another craving is bready. And bread is one of those, so pizza, then of course, obviously bread. Your craving for bready food can be connected to your personal insecurities and dissatisfaction. Okay. Then we have.
I'm sitting here like, oh my God. Okay, I'm listening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. And so whenever I do this, I have it. So if you want to see this more, I have it on my blog. Just go to yesbabyilikeiraw.com, put cravings, and I break it down. I write it down, and I even have a podcast if you need to listen. If you're listening, your learning style is auditory. The last one, because I don't want us to take all this time on cravings, because this conversation is salty. Salty means that you have harbored anger and frustration. So like, you know, that phrase, you salty about something?
Yeah.
You literally, yeah.
Well, you literally salty.
And so you literally are salty about something. And on the blog post, I write some things that you can do to help you deal with these things that might be showing up. But the key is to have the awareness, right? To start paying attention to what cravings are showing up for you on a very regular basis, and seeing if there might be something there beneath the surface that you need to address.
Wow. Okay, so that was a lot, BBG family. We all.
I will say this: we're not a monolith emotionally. We might have several emotions happening at the same time, and these companies have helped us deal with that by making salty caramel ice cream with some, you know.
That's my favorite kind. I'm like, I guess I won't be having no ice cream tonight.
You got your crunch, you got your salt, you know. And you know what? It's okay. We are having this experience on earth so we can be a better version of ourselves. So this is not to make you feel bad about yourself, but there's always a space for you to acknowledge. And if you feel like there's a space for improvement, you can always have improvement as well.
Yeah, my goodness. Okay, so we're all gonna start our food journal tonight, okay?
Yeah.
So that we can keep track of these things. So once we have gotten our awareness, right? And you talked about this healing journey, right? So we recognize, okay, you know, I'm craving salsa caramel ice cream all the time. Or for me, I'm a bit transparent, is white chocolate macadamia nut cookies.
That's good. It's
Yeah.
a good cookie.
It's real good, and it's a problem. So I can't buy them, because if I buy them, I am eating the pack. Like, I just need you to know. So now we're aware. Okay, we've gone through our craving analysis. We've gone to the site. The site, y'all, is Yes Baby I Like It Raw. And if you go to the blog post and click cravings, is where you can find that. So we've developed that awareness. What does that look like to go through that healing process? Or what process did you go through to really achieve that healing? Oh, child, that must have been a loaded question.
So, you know, I know the internet makes things look so nice and comfortable and, you know,
and pretty
in the sky. But healing is dirty as it's uncomfortable. It's here's the reality. A lot of times we have identified ourselves with our trauma. So for us to heal for the trauma means that we have to let go of this person that we thought we were in order for us to be this healed version of ourselves, which is foreign. We don't know what that really looks like. And so it's very disarming. And so healing for me was very uncomfortable because I was trying to heal on multiple levels all at once. Again, that 20s arrogance. I'm going to just do it like this. Cold turkey vegan. So I thought I could just go vegan and stop taking my medication. Bam! I had a period for 30 days. So then I had so I had to retract my approach. I stayed vegan, but when I went to see my gynecologist, who at that time had been my gynecologist for almost 10 years, because I met him when I was in middle school, he was just like, you can't be on medication all this time and think you could just stop taking it. That's not how this works. So I'm going to reduce your prescription as you navigate you trying to take a different approach. And I will say, I'm so happy that I had a gynecologist and I had a primary care doctor that wasn't opposed to holistic practice. So they were like, you know what, I think there might be value there for you. And so he reduced the medication, and then I went to see a holistic practitioner who then gave me some recommendations in terms of herbs and refining how I was eating. And we weaned myself off of the medication, and then I, through lifestyle overhaul, weaned myself off of the supplementation. And then there was the hard work, which was the therapy. You know, everyone, you know, I know we're advocating for therapy. Like, girl, you should go to a therapist. It's going to be so great. It's great.
It ain't fun, though.
But it's not fun. You know?
Look, I be in there like, I ain't going to cry today because I'm a G out here in these streets. I'm not going to cry in 5 minutes. I'll be like, because I was doing the things and all the things.
You know, and it's the work with therapy really happens when you leave the room. The assignments that you're given, that you have to do at your own volition. And so that was very uncomfortable. You know, as I said earlier, my therapist was just like, you got to leave your home, because there's no way that you're going to be able to heal living with the people who abused you. Those two things are incongruent. You know? So when I moved out, there was a huge backlash that took place. You know, it looked like, oh, she moved out because she want to get some, you know, and it was just like, no, I didn't move out so I could have sex. I moved out so I could heal. You know? And then my family was always guilting me around my mother's illness, and they were like, oh, she's gonna get sick if you move out. It's gonna be your fault because she's gonna go to a mental institution because of decisions you made. And creating boundaries is a whole different level of work. You know, from the outside, I established my boundaries, but no one talks about the guilt that comes with establishing boundaries in a world where we were conditioned and trained to put ourselves last and put everyone else first. Right? And this is why self-care is so hard and healing is so hard for Black women, because we are told that everyone's supposed to ride our back. And who do we honor? Like, all of our heroes are women who sacrifice themselves. I don't want to be a martyr. I mean, I grew up like, I want to be like Harriet Tubman. Now I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to live my whole life pouring from my veins and have nothing left for myself, but scars and stories of how someone else is thriving because I sacrificed myself for them. And that's a hard narrative for us to switch. When from day one, it's like, you know, you got to give up yourself, you know, and even our value. Like, when we think about it, you can have all the degrees in the world. You can have all the awards. You can be on CNN, NPR, Nobel Peace Prize winner. But in this society, till this day, if you don't have children, if you are not married, if you don't
Yep.
have things outside of yourself, you are still considered less.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You know, and a lot of us make such horrible decisions around that thing. We get in
Mm-hmm.
relationships that we wouldn't get into because of our family saying that we need to get hurry up and have a baby. We need to we need to get married. We need to. But no one's talking about how about I heal first. How about I take some time to make sure the person I'm in a relationship with is healed, so that we don't continue this vicious cycle. As I always say,
Yeah.
you know, um, people who are in bad situations want you to be in bad situations with them too.
Mm-hmm. And
You
people that
know,
don't have boundaries not gonna respect your boundaries at all. They gonna make you feel like you the one that's wrong.
so you know this work. Going back to the question, it's not easy,
Yeah.
um, and but it gets easy. You just got to keep pushing through. You have to have friends who hold you accountable. You have to let go of friends who bring you back to the spaces that you're trying to leave. And there's a little bit of surrendering that has to happen, because there's days you're going to be like, man, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I don't know if this is the right thing. But you know, that's where faith really comes in. But there's a lot
Yeah.
of detoxing and releasing that has to happen, and that's a very uncomfortable thing to do. To be in a
Mm.
space naked, physically, mentally, spiritually, and to rebuild it when the world has told you who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to show up in the world, and this is the only path that you can take. And that path doesn't often look like what it requires of us when it comes to healing.
Right. Girl, you preaching. Girl, look. I'm like sitting here like,
On the other side of through, that's my gospel song. On the other side of through, there is a blessing waiting for you. Hold fast. Your troubles will not
Yes.
last. There's a blessing.
Yes.
There's a blessing on the other side of through, but nobody talks about the through.
That part, right? We're looking at then, like you said, not to call it the glow up or whatever, but looking at the finished product and not thinking about the process that one had to go through to get to that finished product. You just said something a little bit ago about having a community around you and having people around you. And I know that is what caused you to develop your app. So I do want you to talk about what people can find there. And while you're talking, I'm gonna pull it up just so I can kind of scroll through so that everybody can see it. But talk to us about your inspiration for creating the app and what people can find on there.
Sure. So I built an app for Black women, um, because I recognize that everyone's not going to have the access that I've had. The journey wasn't easy. I had to piecemeal my healers, I had to piecemeal my process, and it slows down the healing process. And so I wanted to create an app that reflected our needs. I wanted to create an app that allowed us to be the best versions of ourselves. And I wanted to build an app that empowered us, that wasn't transactional, but transformational.
Mm.
And so 365 Zing is something I've been trying to build for the past 5-6 years. It was not easy. I thought I was going to hire someone. The fees didn't make sense. And so I learned how to build an app, so I could make sure that the app could do all the things that it needed to do. So
So
what does
like you
that look?
literally did it yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Girl!
Oh, you didn't know that part.
No! Shut up. I'm
I
sorry. Go ahead. I just
yeah.
continue to be amazed. Like mine just blown. Go ahead, sis. Finish. That's what
So
we need.
I
Why you
built
didn't
it.
put that in your bio, Nzingah? App builder. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So hi, I'm Nzingah. I'm now officially an app developer. And maybe I could kind of show it. So maybe you can, let me see if I can get this. Okay, so here we go. Um, every day you see a different affirmation, because we have been poured to in such a negative way, in regards to our self-worth, that I wanted us to kind of have some different programming. And so every day when we come on, we see something else to inspire us to love on ourselves more. So there's this home base. In your home base, you have your daily morning journal, you have your daily evening journal. We have a recommended self-care list. I don't know if you can see that. You can see some of the things are checked off. And so you check off the things that you've done. Then we have a to-do list, because when I was in the beta phase, I had some people were like, well, can we get something so we can put down other things that we want to do? And the goal of this app is to have everything you need in one place. You know, there's an app that's really good at meditation, but that's all it does. There's an app that's good for yoga, but that's all it does. There's an app that's got recipes, but that's all it does. There's an app where you can connect with people on the same journey, but that's all it does. I built an app that has all of these things in this one place, right? So we have a wellness tracker. You can add your steps. You can add your water intake in there. You can even track your menstrual cycle if you are on a wellness journey in terms of losing weight. You can even track your numbers, like in terms of BMI, BF, your measurements, and then it creates charts so you can see your progress. So this is some of my personal progress. And you can even add your pictures so you can actually see your visual progress. So that's the wellness tracker. And then you can create your own meal plan, basically a wellness planner. And so we have recipes on here. And then when you go to the recipe, I'm trying to bring it closer. Let's say I want to have this recipe. Then I can say at the bottom of the recipe, I want to have this recipe on Thursday. So when I come back to home base, now that recipe is going to be added on Thursday. Okay. So then if I go to my wellness area, this is where we have our on-demand videos for yoga, meditation. We have a Caribbean dance class, which is basically a soca fitness class. And let's say you want to build out, this is what I want to do for today. So then I'll say, okay, on Sunday, I'm going to do this class. On Wednesday, I'm going to do this class. And, oh, yeah, that's right. I want to meditate too. So let me add this meditation to the mix. And so then when you go back to home, what I call home base, you have all of these things there. You can also see your progress in terms of the daily wellness activities, so you can see how you're doing. And we even have a gratitude jar for those days that you're feeling out of sync. It's birthed out of your prompts for your journal. And when you click it, it randomly pulls something out of the jar and it tells you.
Wow, that you had already put in.
Yes. So it's not gratitude that I put in, it's you're filling in your gratitude jar. We have on-demand courses. Some of those courses are also live. So for instance, while this was running, I have a 6 weeks to holistic living class that's every Wednesday that just started last week. So we have a class for mothers called Exhale. These are done with with therapists. This is done with professionals. But what's most important, all these classes are taught by women that look just like you, so that you know that this journey is accessible and you're speaking to someone who knows the nuances of trying to do this while being Black, right? Because that was one of my issues when I started this journey 20 years ago, going to a yoga studio, and still to this day, every time I go to the yoga studio, more often than not, I'm the only woman in the room, you know? And so that is one of the challenges there. Then we have our news feed, okay? Just like you have a news feed on Instagram, we have a news feed here, but we're sharing our wins with each other. And we cheer each other on. We have an events section. With the events section, you see everything that's happening. If there's events that are free and accessible or somewhere else, I put that in as well. We also have, just like you go to a dating app to get matched, you can be matched with your accountability partner. Someone who has a shared goal so that you can cheer each other on. So
this is so dope.
So this is 365 Zing. That's a little bit of what it is. It's a lot. It's a lot. I just opened up a sale price because I knew I was going to speak to you, so I just put it
Oh,
back
so I
on.
was just about to say, Cindy wanted to know if there were any in-app fees.
Yes.
Okay, so talk. We like sales, girl. Talk to us.
So this is a monthly subscription, right? And the part of the reason why this is a monthly subscription is because I have instructors that are teaching live. We're bringing a lot of value. If what I just showed you don't get it, I don't know what else I can show. Because if you were getting a meditation app, a recipe, meal planner all in one place, it will cost way more. And so the sale that I put up for Brown Golf, it's launch sale. If you go to 365zing.com/plans and pricing, or if you just go to 365.com and click on plans, I just turned it back on right when we got on, where you can subscribe for $25 a month. You can't beat that. The real cost is $50 a month. But I just knew that I wanted to make sure everyone could be able to access this. I'll keep that on until about 10 if you want to join. You can turn off your subscription at any time. The thing that everyone who's on the app now has been saying is this is bringing so much more value than what they pay. So a lot of them joined in when I had my launch sale. Our 6-week courses, if you have paid for them outside of the course, it'd be $300. And that's included in the cost of the class. We even have art classes that we're doing as well, because I believe that wellness is not just 365 days a year, but it's multifaceted. And a lot of us need to tap into our creativity. There's 7 domains to wellness, and we're trying to make sure that you hit all 7 domains. So that's a little bit about 365 things.
Girl.
Recipes, on-demand courses, instructors that look like you, women who are on the same journey, prompts to help you get right, yoga classes that are also live. Every Monday we have a Caribbean dance class where we're playing soca music. So imagine if you were at Carnival and you could dance, and that's what we're doing. Because fitness doesn't have to look very regimented. We can still own our culture in the process. And so that is why it is what it is. And yeah, so that's a great price, because I'm giving Brown Girls a special.
We here for it. Offer. And guess what? Because y'all on here live, y'all get to get the special, right? So yes. I am loving this. And I'm just thinking, like, even a gym membership is more than that. So just thinking about everything else, the fitness, the recipes, the tracking, the meditation, courses. Like there's just so much that's there. Like, I am amazed. I am blown away. I told y'all, community, that she was the truth. I didn't even realize how much of the truth, though. Like, cause she didn't tell me everything, y'all, when we was prepared, and I'm just sitting up here like, sis,
and the reason why I built this app is not just because of my own journey. It's because I wish. My grandmother died from ovarian cancer about 2 years ago. And it was disheartening, because my grandmother was like my superhero, and she made up for the gaps I had with my mother. And in her last days, she was still trying to take care of everybody. And that was so upsetting to me, because I'm like, Grandma, like, we're supposed to take care of you. Why are you worried about how this X person is doing? And then I looked at a lot of, like, my aunt. I'm looking at my aunts, the women, my friends, and we need something different. We need something that is going to really help us be the best versions of ourselves and help us on the journey, and know that there's other people on that journey. Because sometimes it's hard when you're by yourself. It's hard when you don't have people who like, I know tons of people who come to yoga classes that I've taught because I look like them,
Yeah.
And so I just, and we're suffering when we look at the stats. So this is I said, okay, I'm turning 40. I want to make sure I really not that I don't feel like I haven't done a lot. I've done a lot. There's so much that I haven't spoken to, but I really wanted to make sure that my destiny, which is to be a healer, I made a dent when it comes to Black women. I want to close the health disparity. And there's so much more that's coming on this app as I get more subscribers. We have more classes that are going to be launched. One of the things that I'm working on right now is to be able to have group therapy available for all the women on the app, because I know that sometimes the point of entry can be hard, you know, and just having partnerships and things like that. The other thing is, I give prizes for you just taking care of yourself.
I like prizes.
When you use the app, because I do work as an influencer, when you use the app every month, starting this month, I'm tracking, we're scoring you, and the person who's put the most effort will get a special box sent to them with products from different companies that I have partnerships with, so that they can pour into themselves a little bit more, you know. And you know, we know rewards make people want to do better.
Like, you hear me? I'm like, I don't know about y'all, but it's about to be a competition on it popping.
You know, and other things that are coming are 365 Zing retreats. The retreats were something that we did prior to COVID, because we recognize that this virtual space is okay, but there's nothing like something in person. So we have something happening in Antigua. At the end of the year, we have some stuff happening in Bali. We have some stuff that's going to be happening in also countries that look like us, you know. And so my thing is, because people are like, well, what do you not do? I'm like, I'm going to wring the crap out of this life, so when I'm on my deathbed, I have no regrets.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this has been time well spent. Like, when I tell you, I am just so excited. First of all, who that was said they liked competition. I think that was Cindy. Cindy, you don't want none of this, okay? It's about to be on, so it's okay. No, real talk though. Y'all, I want y'all to drop your biggest takeaway from tonight's show in the comments. But what I want to say to you, Nzingah, is as if you didn't already know this, girl, you are so inspirational. Like, just hearing you tell your story about from whence you came and the way that you took hold of your life and then using that to free and heal other women is just like, wow. To say, I already knew like you were dope, right? We were talking before. I was like, girl, we friends, girl, we cousins now. So
I know, right?
but to really just hear your passion come out and to really listen to you empower and inspire us to take hold of our own wellness journey and to really take hold of that healing, and not mincing words, right? Not making it seem like it's gonna be all pretty and all that. Like, it's not. It's gonna be messy and it's all right. But doing this together, right, has just been I'm just thank you for everything. I'm gonna just sum all that up with thanks.
Thank you for having me. And just even building this app was the most uncomfortable thing. There were so many times that I doubted myself. There were so many times I questioned if it was enough. And so, like, even you see this, like, yeah, this is what it does. Man, there were days I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's real though. That's real. And look what came out, like you said, on the other side of through, right? So on the other side of that, look what has come out of that. But that is that process though, is that through there. Yeah. So look, I want you to tell everybody again, let me take this down so they can see your Instagram. So tell everybody again where they can find you, all the things. Somebody wants to know if you have an email address. Like, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? Tell us the things.
Okay, so main website, I have lots of free content. I even have free challenges. Yes, baby, I like it raw.com. You know, because I know sometimes people can't afford what they can't afford. There's recipes on there, not as many like you have on the app, but there's recipes, there's information, there's a podcast. Yes, baby, I like it raw.com. if you want to email, it's info@yesbabyilikeItraw.com. IG, yes, baby, I like it raw. And it's really about like sifting through and making things as simple as possible. App 365zing.com, and it's 365zing on all platforms as well. One of the things I have is 100 days of self-care challenge. That's completely free. If you go on Yes Baby I Like It Raw, you'll start to see the prompts and you can do the prompts. And I force you to get dirty, with some of my questions. Some of those questions are hard, and they may be unraveling. And what it takes a seed, the discomfort a seed has to go through in order to become a plant is sometimes what we have to do in order to go to another level. It's not comfortable. It's in the dark. Think about the seed in the ground, in the dark, having to bust through and know that there's something bigger and better on the other side of breaking through to be that plant, that tree that will then birth fruit that will feed and nourish and also birth other trees. So my story isn't my story, it's our story. And there's a medicine that the world needs from you. And sometimes in order for that medicine to go through, you got to come through, you got to do your healing first. And love on you. Create a space where you can begin to even think that overflow is possible, and that you are worthy of overflow, that you are worthy of healthy relationships, that you are worthy of the best, that you are worthy to be loved in a healthy way, and I'm saying that because I there was a point in my life that I didn't think I was worthy. I thought that my trauma, my baggage meant that I couldn't have what I deserved. And when I let that go, things started to shift.
Y'all better go over there to Yes Baby I Like It Raw, honey. Get connected. Go over to 365 Zing. Get the special. It is only good for 56 more minutes. Okay. So go over there and get signed up. I'm about to do the same. I'm about to use my HSA funds.
Yes. For those of you who are signing up, there's going to be an email that will show you how to download the app once, because it's not in the App Store. The reason why it's not in the App Store is I'm not going to pay anyone who's not going to market more for me to do something that I put my blood and sweat and sleepless nights in. So the way for you to get the app is to go through my website. So for anyone who might have gone to the App Store and they don't see it, it's because I'm not paying Android and Apple a separate fee for doing nothing, and it doesn't bring more value to me. Things I learned on this journey.
Listen, girl, let me just say, you are officially a part of the Beautiful Brown Girl family. We have to make sure that we keep in touch and that you keep us posted on all of the amazing things that you're doing. Because y'all, real talk, this is just the tip of the iceberg, y'all. This is just one facet of Nzingah. Like, she is thebomb.com. So we definitely want to make sure that we stay connected. And again, I am just so grateful that you spent this time with us tonight. This is so well worth it. I can't wait to go back and watch the replay and watch myself laugh at myself while I'm sitting here like, girl, what? And these cravings, child, I'm about to go make me a list. Like, okay, so that was my biggest takeaway. It was several. It was thank you. Just thank you for being so amazing. And to our community, we always appreciate you and are just so grateful that you all hang out with us. We want to make sure that you all are connected to us in all the ways that matter. So make sure that you have liked us on our Facebook page. Let me share my screen. I can't even focus, y'all. I'm too excited right now. Hold on. Okay. Make sure that you have liked us on our Facebook page, Beautiful Brown Girls, that you have joined our Facebook group, Beautifully Shaded. Follow us on Instagram at Beautifully Shaded and on Twitter at Beautiful Brown You. We also want to make sure that you have connected to us in our VIP members network at members.beautifulbrowngirls.com. So if you head over there, if you're not already connected, make sure you get connected, because this is just one of the types of things that we do here at Beautiful Brown Girls. So we definitely want to make sure that you are plugged in. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with our next episode of Brown Girl Boss. Next Monday, we'll have our next episode of Brown Versation. So if you've never hung out with us there, definitely want to see you there, 8 p.m. Eastern. And again, in 2 weeks, we'll be back here with Brown Girl Boss. And Nzingah, I just want to say thank you one more time, girl. Just appreciate you so much from the bottom of our heart. You're the best.
Thank you so much, Kimberlyn, for having me in Brown Girl Boss.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead on and get this app, okay? Get this food journal together and get this competition popping, because guess who's gonna be winning the prizes? Okay, y'all ain't even ready. But we love y'all so much. Y'all take care. We'll see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.